Jim Vaughn.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuned into Chat City with P. Ross. Conversations and interviews are in the queue. Listen or join in. Here she is, P. Ross.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again to Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross. My co-host, Will Quick, is here with us today. And
Afternoon, everyone.
Yes, and we have a very special guest, Mr. Phillip Bernard Smith.
What's up? What's up, everybody?
He's a veteran actor, teacher, and lifelong student of the arts. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, you know, actors, we love that applause.
All right. We're going to give it to you again then. All right.
Stop.
Thank you for coming to the
Thank
show
you.
today. Will, what has your past week been like since we've last seen each other?
Well, you know, I was dialing back the clock and thinking to myself, it had to be 2005. Phillip and I met. We were attending the same church.
Uh-huh.
He and his wife and me and my wife, and we were attending the same church.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so now we're approaching, 18 years now?
18 years.
Fast track to 20?
Yeah.
Wow.
It goes by fast,
It
too.
does. But we just been boys like that ever since. You know, we'll kind of lose contact, but when we pick back up again, it's like nothing, no fall off whatsoever. That, like we were talking about that true friends on the last segment that we had.
Yeah. We got that special relationship, and it's always good when you come up around people that's just good people all the way around, and anything you say to them, it stay with them, and you need that sometimes. You need that echo to come back in the right way. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
we said he's a veteran actor. He is the adjunct professor of African American theater at North Carolina State University.
Oh, St. Augustine.
Well, I actually do. That's funny. I do teach at State.
Oh, okay.
I teach African American theater there, and then
sorry,
I do some other stuff. But right now, currently, drum roll, I am the new assistant professor of broadcast and film, just hired at St. Augustine's University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm doing that full time right now.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's the big. Yeah. That's what everybody's wanting to know. Where you been, man? So I went back to film school. It's funny because right around the time I met Quick, I had moved down here, married my high school sweetheart, and just left film school at the School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, which is my hometown. So fast forward, as using one of Quick's sayings, I went back to film school 2 years ago and got my master's in filmmaking. And so now I've moved from teaching, which I've been teaching in public school systems for forever.
Yeah, long time.
Middle school. And then I decided, hey, I want to try this thing out on the college level. So here I am. I landed 2 feet on the ground at historical Black College and University here in our lovely state of Raleigh, city of Raleigh. And I'm doing my thing just on the next level.
Awesome.
Nice.
Now, let me ask you this,
Yes.
Mr. Smith. What sparked your interest in acting?
I actually walked backwards through the door of theater.
Explain, please.
So, when you graduate, I went to Appalachian State in undergraduate school, graduated with a degree in communication, and it was very general back then. So you could have went into radio like I am right now, newspaper, or television. So I had no clue. I just wanted something that would pay those bills off. So I got a job working at the Winston-Salem Chronicle for in advertising.
Okay.
So I went and tried to sell an ad to the founder of the North Carolina Black Repertory, the late, great Larry Leon Hamlin. And as I was trying to sell this ad to him, because I was on commission, it was obviously I had my I need a job, haircut, and a suit and tie, and I'm right in the middle of my sale pitch, and he goes, "Can you sing?" And I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Sing something for me." And so I sang, and he said, "Good. If you can sing, you can dance. Be at my audition tonight at 7:00 sharp." And I was like, "What about the ad?" He said, "We'll talk about it later." I went to the audition, and I got cast in a play, a musical, Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope by Mickey Gant. And I started my theater world right there on that spot. I quit the job at the Winston Chronicle and went to go work for Larry, and that was me in theater. That's how I got started.
So was that your very first
Very first.
acting
Very first.
job? Wow.
And I tell students all the time that theater will pick you, even
Okay.
when you're not
Okay.
looking, even when you're not even prepared. Sometimes it will pick you, and sometimes you'll walk away from it, and it will call you back. So it has its own, entity, so to speak. And so I started working as an actor in the afternoons, and I worked in his office in the theater at the Black Rep during the day, and that was how I got into this world.
Okay. Now I am a fan of those. What is it called? The National Black Theater Festivals
that's-
that they hold in Winston-Salem
Right,
every
we
2
founded
years.
that. Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that was Larry's conception. I got there in '92, and so I was at the festival in '93. I performed with the wonderful Phyllis Yvonne Stickney, and she wrote a piece called Big Mama Nim.
Okay.
And she's an amazing actress and comedian and person. And she did the show, but she had written it, and she needed someone to come out and give her some by time while she went behind the screen and changed into one of the different characters that she was playing. And so I wrote a character with the expectation that she would, I would sell the script to her. And she said, well, if you wrote it, once again, you can act it. So you're on the stage with me. And there I was at the National Black Theater Festival in 1993 performing with Phyllis Yvonne Stickney. So that happened, and then the ball just kept rolling.
What's interesting thus far is when you talk about acting and whatnot, I haven't heard the sense of frustration that a lot of people go through trying to parlay acting into a future, into a career and everything. I mean, I'm sure it's been difficult times, but like you were saying, you just kind of backed into it. And, there were times that you went into teaching and that sort of thing, but acting's always been there and theater's always been there.
Yeah, you have, as an actor, first of all, you have to accept the fact that you're going to need a survival job because work doesn't always come.
I like
work,
that terminology.
Yeah, you need something that's going to allow you to work and study and continue to do your work. So, you can teach during the day and perform at night. So I didn't even know I was a teacher. I actually, but I left the festival. I moved to New York, and then I went to Baltimore. And I was there, and they wanted to bring in some artist teachers into the school system. And I went in as an artist teacher and fell in love with those middle school students. And I just like, hey, this is what I want to do. So, yeah, I did that while I was being an actor. But go ahead.
What prompted the move to New York? Was it in hopes of
the festival?
better?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was interesting, and I want to tell all young actors this. So after we did Big Mama Nim performance at the National Black Theater Festival, I was, surprisingly a hit, and people were running up to me, giving me their card, and you get to New York, give me a call. So I'm thinking, okay, all I got to do is get to New York. So I took my last nickel, got to New York, got off the bus, went to these people who gave me the cards, and they're like, who are you again? I don't know you. They didn't remember me.
So what did you do?
You're a surviving artist. You get a job at waiting tables, and so I went on the circuit and just started looking for work. And Phyllis introduced me to a lot of people, so I began to just kind of network. But I eventually migrated to Baltimore. In a smaller region where I could really just kind of get my feet wet, because as I said, I backed into theater. It was by the grace and love of Larry Leon Hamlin, who gave me a chance. He saw something in me. But once I left my hometown of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and moved to New York, I was like a little fish in a huge ocean of people. So I had to learn the ropes. So I went to a smaller market in the Baltimore area, and I was able to kind of carve my teeth and learn my way around the theater world and know how to go to an audition and that kind of stuff. And back to what you were saying, Quick, I mean, I think if you go into it with the expectation that you're going to be famous and you're going to be this, well-known celebrity, that kind of stuff, that can be very frustrating. Yeah. But I was taught by really good actors who came out of, the old school,
right.
The Black Theater, Negro Ensemble Company, New Federal, and they always came home to the festival. So I was always able to, hang around, the giants who we saw growing up. And even to this day, I'm mentored by several of them who kind of keep their eye on me, kind of make sure that I'm doing what the black theater requires us to do. So they kind of helped shepherd me around and make sure that I understood what I was doing this for. It is not to be famous. It is not to be all these things that you can get frustrated with, and if you just look at every stage as an elevated stage and give the work your best, that's what you're celebrating, not the fact that you have thousands of people following you on social media and all that. And then that's good, and you can get paid that way.
Right.
But I had a different objective when I started out, so I didn't get frustrated. I did get frustrated at first. Every actor goes through it, but I didn't, beat myself up.
It sounds like you had a lot more to it than just getting on screen. You had like we were talking about, the merge between education and your craft.
Right.
So you obviously brought those together really well.
Yeah, I love being in front of the classroom. Yeah. And that's a bit of acting in itself. You're performing. You got to get their attention so that you can let them figure out what the content is. So, yeah, it shares.
So do you have a character you go into when your class?
Oh, Samuel Jackson. I'll go Samuel Jackson on you in a heartbeat.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you got to get their attention, man. No, and it's funny I say his name, it just popped up, but I love him because one of the things, and I listened to what he says. He says one of the things you cannot teach is being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
You can learn all the method and all the training and all the voice and all of those things that you absolutely need because it's a skill.
Right.
And you have to protect your, perfect your tool. Mm-hmm. But he said there's one thing, and that's just being in that place that launches your career. And I was just fortunate to be in some of those places at that time,
Well, that was going to be, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that was going to be one of my questions to you, Mr. Smith. What do you believe talent or training? Which do you believe is more important to an actor, the talent or the training?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. Okay. You can be a phenomenal, talent born with it. As I heard recently, Denzel Washington said it's a gift. You didn't do anything to earn it. It was given to you. You have a gift, but your job, your task is what do you do with it? How do you perfect it? Who do you take with you? Who do you, how do you use it to improve upon the life and the people that are in your life? And so you can have that talent, you can sit on it. And I experience that a lot with students now. They have an enormous and incredible talent. And part of my job is to let them know that they have that talent. But once I tell them that, it's still now up to them to go out and find the tools that they need to perfect it. So if you don't use the training that's necessary for you to advance your talent, you will lose it, or someone will basically outwork you. In this way, we're former athletes, right?
Right.
It's the same thing.
And it sounds like something I've heard Samuel L. talk about. He used to call him the hardest, well, they probably still do, the hardest working man in showbiz. And he was saying, yeah, that's why you'll see me in a bunch of movies and everything. I'm putting in the work. Yeah, it's working. Yeah. And so if I had to choose, I would say, if you've got the work ethic, it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off in so many ways that one of the things people, they just see us as actors either on screen or on the stage. But what they don't realize is that this thing teaches you so much. It teaches you self-evaluation. It teaches you respect for other people. It teaches you how to be creative. It teaches you how to listen. And all these things we need, they're very practical skills we need in life. And so when you get better at the craft, you also get better at being a better person to other people. You become more effective in all of your relationships and how you employ those skills to the world. It's not just on the stage, and I tell people all the time, be a better actor, not just on the stage. Go out and use those skills in the world to help someone improve upon where they are in their station in life.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross on Oak 93.5 FM WRLY Raleigh. I have in the studio with me today our very special guest, Mr. Phillip Bernard Smith, and our co-host, Mr. Will Quick. We are talking acting with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, what do you enjoy most about acting?
Well, theater is giving me so much. I've transitioned now and brought into my compass the film community, and I say that because you can't make a film by yourself. And the greatest experience with acting is working in that ensemble, working with the people who are the creatives. An actor approaches the work by basically looking at where the playwright was, what were they thinking about, what was the screenwriter thinking about when they came up with these ideas. And basically you're taking this imaginary world and putting it in a heightened state. But you're doing that by interacting with so many creative people around you. So I think it's just that whole community of creative people that I just, continue to grow and learn from.
Mm-hmm. What do you do to prepare yourself to go into a role?
Oh man, it really truly depends on the work. It depends on the type of work that I'm doing. But in general, the first thing you do is you read. When you are not working, you should be reading, reading scripts, reading about actors, reading about the world that you live in. You should constantly be reading. Having an arsenal of words, because one of the things people don't see when we're on the stage, because we're reading the lines from the playwright or the screenwriter, but there's this thing called subtext, and that's the information that you're thinking about that's provoking the energy that's coming from that particular scene. And that can be you can go to all kinds of pools of information, and if you don't have anything in those pools, you have nothing to use to incite those words and make those words believable to the audience. So I would say you're always reading. You never stop, putting your eyes on something and investigating it and asking questions. When we're children, we ask, like, from age 2 to 7, 400,000 questions, because that's our mind is trying to come up with information so that we can shape our world. And I think as actors, we never grow up. So we're always asking those questions and always trying to shape a world that we're going to be asked to do as an artist.
Awesome. Now, you have a list of credits, stage credit behind your name. Let's see, you've done a long, you got a lot of theater credits here. The Piano Lesson, Gem of the Ocean, Radio Golf, The Mountaintop, The Whipping Man, The Color Purple, one of my favorites, Porgy and Bess, Macbeth, Twelfth Night, The Royale, and let's see, The Gospel at Colonus, and The Blues in the Night. Man, let me applaud you on that.
Thank you.
Out of all of those, what's been your most favorite role?
Oh wow! Well, that is actually, not to shameless plug, but that's not all of them. That's just what we could fit on the bio.
Okay.
But the one that was that was missing was probably Jeff Stanson's The Meeting, which was actually my first play.
Okay.
My first straight play, not a musical, because I told you about the first musical I was in. But that was with Larry. Larry Leon Hamlin played Malcolm X, and Nathan Ross Freeman played Dr. King, and I played the bodyguard of Malcolm X, Rashad. It was a fictitious story of a secret meeting between Dr. King and Malcolm X during the 60s, and they met in a hotel in Harlem, and they talked about their opinions about what was going on, the climate of the world during that time. And I've had a small role, and there's no such thing as a small role, but my part was to come in to just kind of make sure that Malcolm was safe. It put me on the stage for the very first time, and Larry, he chewed me out. I mean, he was on, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to do anything, but he still gave me a chance to get on the boards with him. And I think that because he did that, because he allowed me to be on the stage with him, it set me in motion. Yeah.
Now, a lot of your theater credits seem to circulate around Black history related interest. I'm sure that means not only in acting, but it's also giving you an awful lot of information, especially in this day and time where we're talking about proverbial critical race theory.
Yeah.
I bet that gave you a whole lot of perspective that is still lost.
Oh man,
from the history books.
Oh man, being that middle school history teacher, and like I said, always reading, always getting your hands on stuff. And till this day, I'm still learning about things that were taught to us that were so wrong. Things that were given to us that not necessarily were not true, but they left out some significant stuff that really alters and reshapes your thinking about who you are, in this, particularly in America. And so I think what happens is you gravitate towards those things that give you the most energy. And of course, the great writers that we have to kind of feed off of, they just give us so many characters. August Wilson is probably by far my favorite playwright, because he's given us so many characters that tell us so much about ourselves.
I hear you mention about him constantly.
Yeah. He's gone too soon, but he set the stage for us. I mean, he really is our Black Shakespeare.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do you approach a scene when you don't get along so well with your partner in the scene?
You mean the actor or the character?
The actor.
Ooh.
Although the character is interesting too when you do a scene that you can't really see yourself identifying with. But let's go with the actor first.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, the thing that I was taught by Thurman E. Scott, who was my first method acting teacher, was never make it about the person. It's always about the work. And a lot of times what happens is because, artists are so passionate about what they're trying to do, they really take it to heart. And in that situation, you get a lot of flares. You get a lot of differences of opinion, and you get a lot of cussing, and you get a lot of stuff going on in there that hurts your feelings. But they're really just passionate about the work. And so if you as an actor it's about the work. It's not about the person. It's not about the personality. That person's just coming from that heart of how they feel. Keep it there, even if it's not. Keep it there, right? You just keep it in that lane. Make it about the work, and everything else, will kind of fall to the wayside.
Have you ever heard Jamie Foxx talk about his role with LL Cool J in that movie Any Given Sunday?
Yes.
Where
yes. He did a stand-up routine about that. Yeah.
That was hilarious. Where he was saying that I think LL was taking it a little too seriously. And he was trying to let him know, hey man, you're not supposed to really hit me that hard or whatever. That was
well,
funny.
You'll get that. I've had that situation where folks thought, it would be okay just to go method on me and not, get permission first. And, we moved some furniture in the dressing room a couple of times. It'll happen. I think, anytime you get into the work and you see it as, an extension of yourself, not extension of your ego, but extension of yourself, you're going to bring yourself to the party. And if you're not, you're probably not doing much acting on the stage. And I tell my young artists all the time, they say, how do I get up there and not be nervous? I said, well, if you're not nervous, you're not up there. Because that lets you know that you're alive, right? Who wants to come see a dead person on the stage? You got to come and you got to come alive, and that feeling that you get is really your body telling you be on alert. That antenna is up. There's a lot of people out there, but they're not there. You're here, and they want to see. And most of the time, I tell them, I said they're going to co-produce it with you. Even the listeners who are out there listening to us right now, they want to go along with us. Right. And if you believe that they're going to go along with you, that's half the battle. So get rid of the nervousness and let that tension just be a part of your character. Find a place to put it in the character, in the work, and just use it. Use everything that God gives you as an artist on the stage in that moment and project that out. Use it. Find a way to make it a part of your character.
So speaking of that, of the many credits that you have, was there a character that you really closely identified with? It was almost like all I got to do is be who I am.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I have to think about that one.
Well, how about a character that going forward, if you got the opportunity to?
I got cast in. I moved around the country for a while when I first started out. So I was living in Detroit, and I worked at a lot of African American theater companies in this country, and just it's a privilege when you get on those boards because that so many people who people recognize as celebrated artists started out there, and so when you walk those boards, it's almost sacred space. And so when I went to Plowshares in Detroit, I got cast in a Soldier's Play, and I was playing I was cast as Peterson, Private Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, in the Soldier's Story, which made the adaptation of the play, it was played by Denzel Washington.
Of course.
Right. And so I couldn't wait to say, "Get your hands off me!" You know?
I will still look up that one on YouTube from time to time just to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a phenomenal. I mean, you don't get no better than that, right?
Hey, did you get any reaction from the audience when you did that part?
Oh man, every time. I did that years ago, but later on, as you know, you have to adapt as an artist.
Right.
So I got older, and I always wanted to play Hulk in Driving Miss Daisy. Don't ask me why. I seen Morgan Freeman, do it. I just said one of these days I could never get cast. Because I was too young. Well, I finally got my chance at Temple Theater out in Sanford to do
Nice.
it, and it was just a great moment. And then we co-produced in Asheboro at Rhino Leap, and I really loved it because I had a chance to kind of test out those waters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think every character that you approach, you use a piece of your life, something that you experienced, something that happened to you, and it's your moment to say, well, I didn't have the heart, or I didn't have the courage, or I didn't have the money, or I didn't have the relationships at that time to do it, but this character is going to breathe life back into that experience, and I bring that experience to the table. And the mountaintop, I've directed it twice, I've acted it twice, and every single time I cry. Because it's that moment when Dr. King realizes he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And so many people had that feeling in their heart when he left us,
Yeah.
right? But and my mentor, he's gone now, Anthony Chisholm, he used to tell me all the time, Philip, all I can say is stay connected to God, keep your seatbelt fastened, and enjoy the ride.
Awesome.
And so that's what I've been trying to do,
Right.
ever since Chiz left me. So, yeah.
If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross on Oak 93.5 FM. My co-host Will Quick and I have been talking to actor Phillip Bernard Smith. And then he has so many other titles besides actor as well. He's doing some other things here, great things. All right, so Mr. Smith, memorizing lines. How do you guys do that? I mean, oftentimes I've dreamt of being in an actress, here and there. But I'm like, I don't think I will be good because I don't think I could memorize the lines
Oh, yes,
like
you
that,
could.
especially for a 30 minutes or an hour play or something. So tell me what do you do to make it so easy?
Everybody's technique is different, though.
Uh-huh.
It just depends on the work. Like, there's a different approach to classical theater. If you're doing Shakespeare, you have to memorize it out loud. Sometimes you write it over and over again. There are different types of approaches to character and particular types of genre. Like, I wouldn't memorize Shakespeare. You have to find the character first. And I've told people a lot that I really don't memorize because I'm kind of dyslexic. And I'll say things backwards in a heartbeat. So the first thing I do always is I just read the script. I read the script over and over and over again. I mean, a minimum 10 times. And I'm not talking about just my role. I'm talking about the entire script. So I have to get the body of the script inside of my think tank, And once you have done that, then you start to kind of understand what the whole play's, thematic purpose is, and then what your placement is. And then you start whittling down to what your character's about and why your character's there. And then you start putting humanality to it. And then from there, that's when I start talking to the lines. Because I tell students all the time when I'm directing, your lines actually get in the way. Because nobody wants to come here, you regurgitate words. They want to see the feeling and the emotion behind it. So study the character's world first. And after a while, the character will tell you what to say.
Right.
And that's pretty much how I approach it.
Have you had a situation where you found yourself ad-libbing a little bit from the script just because of the way the character was carrying you?
No. That is a no. No, you say the lines on the page.
Okay.
That's the rule of the game. Say the lines on the page. I mean, if you mess up and you drop a line, nobody really knows it unless you
Right.
stop and go, "Oh, I dropped my line." But no, your goal is to respect the playwright and get the words out because they worked hard to get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can understand that. My sister tells me oftentimes because, like you said, the repetition part about how you read the script over and over again. I'm kind of that way about watching certain movies and shows, and so a segment will come up and I can recite
the
it.
word.
She said, you learn all the wrong things.
If it's good, it's gonna stick. That's the good thing about it, P. Ross. That if it's good, it sticks. It's not a lot of work to it. And like Quick said earlier, when you find a character that you love, you just don't really. I don't really think about it being lines after a while. It just becomes a part of. You get it in your muscle memory, and then you start speaking with your body. You start speaking with your eyes. You start talking as we would talk, like we're talking right now. And so after a while, the lines just kind of fall off in the wayside, and you're really there in that moment. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to sit, you hear the actor say, "Be in the moment." That's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to stay right there. Don't let your mind goose egg off. And I call it, start daydreaming. That's when you get in trouble because you start thinking about something else, or you get ahead of yourself. Like, what's my line after this? No, you don't. You just stay right there where you are and just kind of say it, and mean it, and say it to someone and be listening to what they're going to say in response. So it becomes like a real dialogue.
What makes a role challenging?
Oh, a lot of things. If you're adamant against what that character is about, like I played Mister, right? And he's probably one of the best characters I ever played. But I hated Mister. Mister was like, you're not supposed to judge a character. You never judge him. You just play him. But he doesn't represent who I am, right? So one of the things you have to do is you have to find that, okay, well, he wasn't always that way. And you begin there. You don't understand what made a person a prostitute. You don't know what made a person a pimp. You don't know what made a person, a criminal. Those things are human qualities that we all have, in interactions with. So you start there, and then you kind of grow to that point. And then when they make that decision, you don't judge them. You just go over that threshold. And that can be challenging sometimes if it's something that you're just adamantly against. Right. Yeah.
You had mentioned early on that Mr. Larry Leon Hamlin was the person that gave you your first opportunity, and he asked you if you could sing.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy singing?
Oh man, as you know, we came up in the church, so I grew up singing gospel, in the Baptist church, and so that was always, you had to know hymnals, but then when you got to sing on the choir, you got to do a little, you got to riff a little bit,
right?
You think you could sing, everybody go, "Ooh, that boy can sing," But anything that speaks to the heart of humanity. What are you going to say to me that's going to alter my life? And I tell artists all the time, your voice is a muscle. And just like you were saying, talent over training. You have to work your voice as if it's a muscle. And so you don't know the audition that you're going to go to that's going to cast you in that role. But if your voice isn't ready, you're not going to get it. So I sing pretty much every chance I get.
Right.
And so sometimes you just see the words of a song will find you based on what you're dealing with in that moment.
Yeah.
Right. And then sometimes, it's a song that'll, I say it's ancestral because sometimes grandma starts. Will I sing because I'm happy? And you just go back in time and you just want grandma she's gone now, but you just want her to hold you again, right? You just want her to spend time with it. And so that connection with that, "Oh baby, sing that song for me," so and so and so. And so you sing that song, and so it can transport you, to a place. And that to me is what the joy of music is, the joy of singing, and that's what our ancestors did to just keep us alive. Right. We are here now because somebody brought a song out, and that that I was watching the documentary about Katrina, and when they were in the dome, somebody just started singing, and that just lifted their spirits,
Right.
during a horrific time in our American history. So music can transport us, and I think that's what I try to do when I sing. I want to transport you. I master sing, at funerals a lot. And it's my job to kind of transport you from that grief to that place, that they're in God's hands now. So we're going to go ahead and just keep on going and love the memory that we had with them.
Correct.
And so I think for me, that's always been the greatest part of singing, not necessarily the performance, but the gift that music gives to people.
Right.
What do you enjoy most about teaching?
Oh man, the light in the eyeballs that pop open when they go, I get it. And it's just, that's my thing. When I look at a student and I know they got it, because here's the thing. I started out the gate slow. They had me in every LD class you could think of.
ALD?
Yeah, because they didn't know what dyslexia was.
Okay,
They didn't have a
gotcha.
name for it. They was like, that boy ain't got it, and it was a teacher that didn't see that slowed me down and showed me what I was missing. And once I got to, because I was shy, they really didn't talk. Y'all can't believe that now because I've been running off my mouth. But once I learned how to do it, man, they couldn't turn me off. Man. I was gone. And so I like to get that student to that place where once they realize they can do it, the thing about it is once they get it, nobody can ever take it away from you. It's yours.
Yeah.
It's yours. Now you can give it away, and I tell them rascals that all the time. Don't give away your gift, right? But it's yours.
Right.
It's yours, and it cannot be extracted from you. And so being a teacher, I know that I can offer them that opportunity to find that thing, that special thing that they can do better than anybody else. And once it's theirs and they claim it and they own it, they're off to the races. I have students now who call me, they're adults now, they got kids, I've held the kids of my students in my arms.
That's an unusual feeling, isn't it?
Oh gosh. Oh man. You just stand there, you just pause, you do the little self-check. How old am I again?
Now, I will say you've been doing this long enough to have had that kind of impact. We don't put the question about how old we are.
All right, yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I do though. I ask myself, but because it's a miracle in itself. Because when you're looking at these kids and they're in that space, they think that's their whole world, and we know that they got so much more to do. But in their moment, and we're trying to respect them as educators, we want to give them their time to discover themselves, to discover what they can do. And what I'm learning is, and always learning, as I say in my bio, I'm a life learner. They're constantly teaching me stuff. And I'm not just talking about the tech stuff that I have to ask them to do. How you do this? I'm talking about just their way of seeing the world.
Right.
They bring innovation every single moment to the classroom. And I enjoy that. I enjoy unpacking that. I enjoy sharing and giving back what they give me. It's a sacred experience that is to be protected, and as teachers, we're instruments of God. I say that all the time. He's using us to perfect other gifts, and we're one, but we can produce thousands. Right?
Yeah. Have you ever? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Have you ever participated in a theater play or other acting where one of your students was also participating as well?
Oh yeah.
I bet that was a real aha moment.
Oh man, yeah. It's and you know what? On the stage, they're their own character. They're their own person.
Right.
They're not your student anymore, right? And so you have to let go.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's always beautiful.
Mr. Smith, I'm sure you're familiar with the strike in Hollywood.
The writer's strike.
The Writer and Screen Actors
Screen-
Guild.
yeah.
Over 160,000 television and film performers walked off their jobs in July,
Yes.
demanding higher wages and residual pay from streaming TV, as well as restrictions of the use of AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Elaborated on it for us, if you will.
It's funny because I was just talking to one of my students about that in class before I came. he wants to be a music producer. And I'm telling him, well, they got AI that can do beats now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on the shelf right beside your work. And the thing that's going to distinguish artificial intelligent art from us is the heart that you put in it, because AI can't produce a heart. It can't produce a spirit. And so that means that they have to elevate their work and bring that gift of human characteristics to their work. AI can't do that. As far as the strike is concerned, we were doing our best to earn a living in a time, and we signed those agreements with the expectations that people would do right by us.
Yeah.
And we had no idea, neither did they, that our work would be brought into another arena and be shown. And because we didn't have the vision or the insight to know to add that to the contract because it didn't exist, they played that loophole.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just another way of reproducing revenue off of our talent.
Exploiting.
Yeah. And so I try to tell as many of my colleagues, as many of my students as possible, know your worth, know the value of your talent. And it may seem like you're being, egotistical, but recognize your talent, because they do. They're still exploiting the gifts that we brought to civilization and still not giving us credit for it. The tour guides that make money off of the pyramid tours and all the things that we created with our hands, we don't get the recognition of that. We don't get the acknowledgement that we produced those innovative ideas, how we shaped civilization. So if it went on all those years ago, nothing's going to stop that wheel from turning now. We just have to be prepared to deal with it. And I think the artists who came together and said no should be commended. They stood up for what they believed in. They realize now you can't do it without us. And if we stay together collectively, we can bring some kind of change.
Amen.
You did. You got the bar.
Thank you.
All right, you're the owner of Mahogany Stage Productions.
Yes.
Based out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So, and we were talking about that before we went on the air. The whole COVID and the world changed and everybody had to go indoors. People had to pivot, and find another way to get the art out. So things went from a live environment where people were gathering to streaming and putting things in the media environment. And we kind of anticipated doing that anyway, because it just kind of got frustrated with venues kind of dictating which shows were going to reflect us, either Black Nativity or whatever it was kicking off on Black History Month. That's when you got to work. And so we wanted to say, no, we want to work just like you want to work, right? And so the venues were kind of dictating to us what we can and can't perform. And so I said, well, you know what, if we put this to the lens, we can create our own environments and create our own profit, right? Because they had the door, they were getting the profit off of us as artists on the stage. So that was my shift to creating a production company that could take people who had an art to give and give an alternative to the stage. But what happened was people started getting auditions by being self-tapes. So it opened up a whole nother market of how we could take our production company and put it to use. So we've been successful at helping people, kind of get their work out there and be seen. And it's now become almost a standard of how you get work now. Folks are looking at your self-tapes. And so you need training on how to actually project the truth about you as an artist on the screen. So we do a lot of that, teaching folks how to talk to a camera as opposed to talking to another actor, and how to shape their world within the confines of those four lines.
Now, I have never paid attention to this until maybe the last 10 years of my life here. But I noticed in a lot of these larger cities, you have an art artsy district or arts district.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I've always been familiar with what's in Winston-Salem because I lived in Winston-Salem.
Okay, homie.
For 8 years. All right, and then moving to Charlotte, you had the NODA area, North Davison area,
Right.
where you had all that artsy stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, I don't know much about Greensboro or Raleigh, but I'm pretty sure it's in these larger cities too. How does that make an impact on the city as a whole?
An arts district?
Yes.
Well, more so than anything, it's tourism.
Okay.
Right. Because we as artists, we wake up every morning and we lay down every night as an artist. So we're always trying to figure out, do I eat or do I buy paint or paintbrushes? Or, do I drive all the way across town for this audition, or, do I take this audition and miss out on this amount of work? So we're always juggling as artists. So we are the district, so to speak. But it's always great when you can find a place where people gather to come see a variety of art. A variety of artists from different types of studies and disciplines coming together, and you just celebrate that. And I think tourism, it will bring people to town. I don't know if you've ever been out to Wilmington, but they have little streets they'll pop up in a minute, and you can get all kinds of stuff because they have so many hand artists out there who do all kind of craft. And you find some of the most amazing stuff from people who are just sitting out there watching the ocean go by, So I think it's always about tourism. Tourism is what drives artists to kind of have a good day. And sometimes we're packing up, going to a city to do a show. Sometimes you'll see artists who will come and they'll set up their vendors booth at the festival. If you've ever been to the National Black Theater Festival, part of our draw was that we have so many different vendors who come bring their artwork for sale in one spot, for a week. And it's tourism.
Okay. I want to get into a little bit about an actor, but he was first a rapper, known as a rapper, and that is Mr. Tupac Shakur.
Oh, my man.
Tupac had some ties to North Carolina. I don't know if you guys were aware, but his mom is a native of North Carolina.
I did not know that.
And I've met I know people that knew him or were related to him. My former pastor received a gift from Tupac's mom, Miss Afeni Shakur, once, and he showed it off at church. I told this story before. He was like, Tupac's mom gave me this watch, So in his line of work, what he did, he received that gift from her. But he's back in the news now, being that his cold case is now active again, being that he was murdered back in, I think it was 1997, and his killer is brought to the light. His killer, a man gone by the name of Keefe D. His real name is Duane, I want to say Davison. I have it here in my notes here somewhere, and I can't find it right now. But anyway, he's back in the limelight here, and I just wanted to talk on that because although he did not do a lot of acting, what little I did see in the movie Juice, I thought he was brilliant.
Poetic Justice.
And Poetic Justice. Yep. That's right. Yeah, he was a brilliant actor. So, this case is back up now. We have a killer that's being brought to trial. What do you guys think about this?
That's your wheelhouse.
Okay. Well, when I saw that you had mentioned it, I heard about it. I hadn't looked at a lot of the details. I read up on it a tad bit, and what they're saying is he was in the car where the shooting originated from, and the bullet that struck and killed, or the bullets, I should say, that struck and killed Tupac. So this is information that they've known from the very beginning. What I wasn't aware of, apparently, is, like you were telling earlier, he's gone on different interviews and all but given details about how things played out, and that might have contributed to new information that the police used in the investigation. I also read that he's the last surviving member of the parties that were in the car, and the only other witness to the shooting that's surviving is Suge Knight. And, of course, Suge was in the car with Tupac, and probably any number of people might think there's a little bit of conspiracy theory associated with that. But, let's face it, Suge's rep isn't one that would be far from reasonable. Nonetheless, it sounds like it's going to be as a participant in a conspiracy, because I think they said that the motive was the defendant's nephew had some sort of disagreement with Tupac's crew and he got beat up pretty bad. So presumably that was the motive, but I haven't seen anything in writing that they put the gun in his hand, because I like to believe they could have done that all this time, he would have been charged a long time ago.
Yeah, he was special. He was our little prince. You know, I mean, he brought a lot of truth in pain and suffering and look at me, you know, kind of language in his words, in his music, in his talent. Everything that he was, I felt he put his heart in it. I love the story about poetic justice that Dr. Maya Angelou shared when he was being, you know, upset with somebody, and she came and she spoke to him and he heard her. And so that was one of the stories I always keep with me, that he still understood the relationship to his people. And so when you hear Dr. Angelou share that story about how she calmed him down, she calmed his spirit down, and she shared, and she saw the human being in him. Every time I hear "Dear Mama,"
Yeah.
you see the connection. So back to what we're talking about, there is nothing that can happen that can bring any kind of comfort to the fact that we lost one of our young, powerful brothers to something that was absolutely, totally unnecessary. And for me, I don't even want to give this person any more energy other than the fact that he took something away from us that we can't get back.
Correct.
You know what I mean? We can never get this brother back. But back to the artist, he dropped his talent on us, so we could put that music on and dun 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 dun,
Yep.
you know, and we could play, you know, Tupac's voice over and over again. What can this brother give us that we can reminisce on? What can he give us? What can he do but say that he was responsible for taking that away from us?
True. P. Ross, I was thinking about the irony in the guest that we had on last week, Miss Smith, with that case that we discussed on air last week, and how obviously a mother pained with the loss of
I saw some of
her
that.
daughter.
Wow.
And a case that is old as well, with no closure at this time. If nothing else, I hope that renews hope for her, and because I know it renews hope for me, and some of the things that we talked about, maybe the potential to bring about some closure, or some, maybe even a new lead. But to put it in perspective, you take an individual as well known as popularity and popular as Tupac, because you know, a lot of times folks say that the energy that's invested in the case has a lot to do with the notoriety of the people involved. And that case not seemingly being solved for in excess of 20-25 years. So given that we've reached a point where they're moving forward with maybe some closure in charging and trying this gentleman, hopefully she can get some measure of hope restored with her, that the time will come that justice will be served for her daughter.
Right. Yeah, I saw some of that. That was heartbreaking. And you could feel y'all on the scene.
Yeah.
You could feel what she was struggling with. And that's the hard part about it. I mean, Tupac is an icon to us, and he wasn't our family member, but we still feel the relationship with him because of the music. And those of you who didn't hear that intro, that was Keep Your Head Up. You know, for those of you who don't play that. And I think that's what
I don't even pretend like I can carry a tune, so
You know
I'm
what
not.
I'm saying?
I can't join in, but you can look at me all you want to. I know my limits.
you know, but Keep Your Head Up is really, that's what comes to me
Yeah.
from that last interview that y'all had with the sister here. You know, and with all of us who still have a salty taste in our mouth about how we lost Tupac, keep your head up, and that's kind of what he left with us, keep your head up, don't worry about it. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier, that's what's up.
All right. Brenda Smith, if you're watching, I hope you're inspired by this little piece today. And if not, I'm going to make sure you're going to see this this portion of this video today. Yeah. All right. We are approaching the end of our show.
Oh, that
it goes by too fast.
You told me it was going to go, right? Yeah. Oh, man. For real? Nah.
Yeah, Phillip Bernard Smith, we're gonna have to have you back on the show.
Please
okay?
do. Please. I have fun, y'all. Yeah.
When's the next? Before we go, when's the next production that we can see your imprint or your hand on?
Well, it will be right now because anything can happen. Next year, I will be directing a play in Durham at Bulldog Theater. The artistic director Keefe Fox has asked me to direct a play called Redwood. And it's an interesting play about a couple African American woman who's dating a white man, and the uncle does their lineage and ancestry.com and finds out that his ancestors owned her ancestors. Wow. So the plot thickens, the story brings back our ancestral.
Yeah, that's interesting dinner conversation right there.
Yeah, it's a great read. It's a funny. The playwright is an amazing writer. It's something that I want to challenge. Haven't seen the venue yet, but they moved to a smaller venue, so it's maybe 60, 80 people. So get your tickets now. It's going to be quaint and quiet, and it's got some movement in it and some really funny lines. It's called Redwood. It's going to be in Durham. I'll hopefully be back before we can plug that and talk about all the exciting things I'll be directing there.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have certainly enjoyed you, Phillip Bernard Smith. Thank you for coming to the show today.
Thank y'all for having me.
Any last remarks before we end today?
Oh, man, you set it up, man.
What?
Set it up.
Well, I mean, again, when I kind of backed into this as an invited guest on here and enjoyed it, and then when P. Ross and I were pitching it back and forth, well, you enjoyed enough, you think maybe you want to do, I'm like, well, let me kind of get my feet wet. And so we started talking about bringing in guests and everything. And I'm going to talk about it when we get off the air, but I've learned some tremendous things about being a radio personality. Because make no mistake, like P. Ross was telling us a minute ago, she was recognized not because she was from Moore County. The folks that she spoke about in the grocery store, was it?
Yes.
They called her a radio personality. She is a radio personality. And that's a craft. That's a skill.
Right.
I can't expect to just walk in the door and be a radio personality.
Wow.
But to that point, when I was thinking about who to bring about and bring in, and a story that would be interesting for so many, because I mean, we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we did.
We just scratched the surface, but you came to mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Very quickly.
I guess my last words would be to anybody: do what you love. Don't do what's trending. Be the trend.
Yeah.
Right? Do what you love, and just love it while you're doing it, and don't worry about where you are in the game. Just get in the game and just keep working at it, and all the other stuff that you may feel like you don't have yet, it'll come, and you'll find that it was probably always there the whole time. But if you do what you love and you spend time with it and you wrestle with it, because anything worth having, you're going to take care of it. You're going to work hard. You're going to make sure that you put the time in to get it to where you want it to be. But it just, the worst thing you could do is take something you love and set it on the shelf and don't do anything with it and just watch the dust collect. That is like the worst thing you could do for yourself. So find it, find that joy, find what it is. If it's radio, if it's television, if it's film, if it's acting, whatever it is, singing, get it, hold on to it, love it, and it'll love you back.
Thank you, Phillip Bernard Smith. Thank you so very much. Okay, thank you for tuning in again. Chat City with P. Ross. We'll be back next week, Thursday, 3 p.m. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.